So today's topic, healthy versus unhealthy relationships, right? And so let me ask you why this topic? Why, how, when I talked to you, I said, so what should we talk about? And you said, let's talk about relationships and let's dive deep into what is healthy and what is unhealthy.
So the reason I picked this topic for today is because I thought it would be a good segue. The last session we had, I had explained kind of my journey leaving the field of counseling and going into positive psychology, business coaching. And I'm finding myself doing a lot of relationship coaching when I'm unpacking with both women executive, male executives. There's so many underlying kind of themes related to unresolved issues in relationships that spill over to the workplace environment. And I think in our lives, sometimes we're hurting because we're in a bad relationship and we feel stuck and we don't know how to get help. And so I wanted to use this opportunity to highlight that, normalize, like, what is it called? I've had my share of really, really unhealthy marriages that I've helped kind of overcome obstacles. So
yeah,
I thought this would be a good
yeah,
starting
it's perfect.
point.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So should we begin with defining a healthy relationship first? Like, how do we, what is healthy relationship?
So to me, from my experience, healthy relationships, they let each partner grow in the spaces they need to feel complete and seek contentment. I often see a lot of patterns, whether it's like the work environment where the power infliction is so severe that, the employees feel like they don't have a say, they don't have a voice, and the folks up in leadership think everyone's okay and nobody's talking, right? There's this big gap in communication. Similarly, let's say, in a marriage situation, and we live in this world of Facebook and social media, to the outside world, this family or this couple looks absolutely perfect. But, well, the version that I see is so completely different. So that lack of congruency, not being able to be your authentic self have a voice, and for the people around you to accept you, I think that's when we start seeing the real difference between a healthy versus unhealthy relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we could do a whole session on boundaries. The boundaries are awful in unhealthy relationships. People are being emotionally bullied.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to that power component.
Yeah.
Bad habits are forming, habits of intimidation, like focusing on events versus patterns. Like in a healthy relationship, you're able to forgive, resolve, and then move on with your partner or your coworker or whoever you want to fill in the blank, right? In an unhealthy relationship, you hang on to those events and you remind that person, remember in 1999 what you did to me? That's not going to help you grow. Right? I'm like, I didn't remember what lunch was yesterday. Can we meet halfway here?
I guess because it's not been resolved, maybe, right? Yeah. So it's just, you think it's forgotten and you think, okay, it's done and over with, but because it's not resolved, it's in there.
It lingers.
Yes,
right? So
exactly.
There's this concept that I've been telling both my, friends and even with clients I feel comfortable with, and it's awful to say on a Monday morning, but I call this emotional constipation. Year after year, you learn the unhealthy way of dealing with your emotions. You somehow attribute your problems to people outside of you, so there's that lack of agency and accountability, and you literally become constipated emotionally, and to the point where people you meet don't even know how to receive you. You know how you, like, one of the things I love about Lynn is her energy, right? I didn't have to know anything else about her to move towards her. And we just met at some random events. They were pretty big events. And so after 20-something years of doing this, I can really pick up on energy. And there is some energies I don't want to do anything with. I mean, I'll walk away from business opportunities, anything, because that person, I'm like, ooh. You may have done a lot of work on yourself. Your face looks good. The Botox is on point. You know, your dress is awesome, but I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Yes, like you said, the inner thing is not resolved or taken care of. And I think a lot of women, I don't know about women, but I don't know if I'm one of those, but I can hold on to stuff, and then when it comes out, it just comes out like a volcano, right? Like with my husband. Generally.
Poor guy.
I was going to say, I don't think that's the Layla I know.
Exactly. So my friends have not seen that part of me.
You hold it together. And so for the rest of the world, and you go home and just take it out on this poor guy. I mean, I feel like I'm going to offer him a free session.
Exactly. So, you know, like, you're right. Like, people hold on to stuff, and they have, you know, different stuff they show. So...
And, you know, one thing, when I go into a situation where people don't just call me when things are wonderful, right? Like,
right.
We have a problem. And so I go in, and one of the disruptors I like to use, and I know it's kind of silly, but I'm like, tell me about how you met, you know, your first date. Because we get so consumed about defending our right and, you know, our ego and making sure the whole world knows we are right and he's wrong. And sometimes this is a coworker environment, not always a marital situation. But the concept applies in both spaces. And to just say, you know, I mean, obviously you really like this person to throw a $100,000 wedding. Like, what happened? You know, can you help me fill in the gap? And what that does is helps the person go from this, you know, fight or flight response to the more rational part of their brain. And I think this is very applicable to kids too. If you can just create enough of a calm and safe space for everyone to get a voice and get their point across, there is literally no problem that we cannot resolve. And I think sometimes we lose kind of handle on that, you know, in any space, even as moms. You know, I run into moms at a grocery store, and she's so consumed with how other people are judging her. Really, she's judging herself.
Right,
as a mother,
exactly.
Right? And she forgets that there's this small person has ideas, you know, and maybe like there's some real issue. Right? So we become really bad listeners, and then we expect really big things from a relationship, and then we compare. We go on. You know, I promise you, some of the prettiest posts on social media, I've actually personally addressed infidelity in that household. I mean, you know, that's why I get excited about authenticity. And I get excited about people who are real and hold themselves accountable, because you can make anything look good. You know, the other day my son showed me this little video. This girl's like standing like a window like that, where there's a skyline and a lawn chair, and then she has a fan blowing, and it looks like she's on a helicopter. And then the camera moves out. And then
that's creative.
You see this plastic lawn chair, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the world we live in.
It's
you know,
so true.
make it look
so much
good.
I thought about.
But how, you know, in a relationship environment, how do you make your partner feel safe or your employee feel safe?
Right.
To really come through with their authentic self and ask for what they really need, right? Most of us are not doing that. And I think that helps us move. What you mentioned earlier, being able to forgive.
Yeah.
Right? So I call that patterns versus events. We can hold on to events and we can, catastrophize events.
Right.
By events, I mean, the day you disrespected my mother on our engagement ceremony. Oh, my Pete's sake, let it go. That's an event.
Right.
Yes.
Now, if your energy is better spent on correcting a pattern, maybe your pattern is you have a hard time saying no to your family. Maybe your pattern is you don't stick up for your spouse in public places.
Okay.
Your energy is better spent correcting that
pattern,
than obsessing about that one event.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right?
That's right.
That makes a lot of sense.
That does.
And a lot of us people get stuck on patterns.
Yeah.
And, events versus patterns.
Yeah, and it helps you grow. It helps you move on, because I think that's what you want in a relationship, right? Because you want to grow together. So, yeah.
Another key concept that I like to introduce early on is the openness to influence. So are you going in a relationship because you have your own agenda and you want someone to just move towards you, or are you seeing the relationship as a space where you're open to growth? Like, when I met you and I picked up on your awesome energy, I didn't want to push my personality on you. I'm like, I'm curious.
Yeah.
How did she arrive there?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So that gives off a very different energy. And why don't we do that with our partner?
Yeah.
Why doesn't the vice president of a company do that with the employee that just got hired? Like, how did we end up in this space? How did the universe put us there? What are we supposed to do with it? And why don't we get curious instead of judgmental?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
We judge too often. We are not inquisitive enough.
Yeah.
And we fail to bring the value of people.
Yeah.
So being open to influence is very... it's a powerful agent in changing the course of a relationship from going from unhealthy to healthy.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, just like us, the six of us who started Chai Time, and, we have ton of friends, like a lot of friends outside of the six, but somehow, some way we found this connection between the six of us, and we are like close, like we share very everything, and we have this healthy relationship.
Yes.
We go out with other girls, and we always have girls' night and all, but for some reason, it's between the six of us. It's just a whole different bond. Yeah. And that has grown. It's,
absolutely.
It's just each time we meet, it's always different. It's a different discussion, or it's different. There's nothing, and it truly is healthy. Like I would, like the way I look at it.
Because we talk about, like, we're not talking about people or things, we're talking about like a book we read, or, how we're helping out or something like
growth
that.
Mindset.
Growth. Yeah. So, so I think that really helps us to get better, because we get like these amazing ideas from each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I think for female relationships, I find that the ones that I'm most successful with is if my female friends, they have just as much going on as me. They don't need a lot of hand holding.
Yes.
They're not possessive. They're not jealous. We could actually go to the same event and work different angles of the room, and then like maybe send each other a text.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's coming from a place of confidence and not insecurity.
Absolutely.
Right.
And they're, my close female friends never get mad at me for not calling them for a month.
Right.
Because they know what a geek I am and how, like, I just, like, go really full force on whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then they can't wait to catch up.
Yes.
And I can't wait to hear what they're doing.
Yes.
And so that, for me, as an adult, it was very strange because I only had brothers.
Yeah.
And it was very strange that females would start acting kind of funny because I'm like, well, how many phone calls do you need from me? Like, like for me to call you a bestie or whatever.
Yeah.
Like maybe you need to get a life or you know, like back to authenticity. Right? Yeah. I remember after my divorce, for example, I had like bukus of legal fees. I think I was writing, you know, several $1,000 checks like literally every 3 weeks. And one of my good friends wanted to do this big, like, ladies' night out, limousine, all that. And I'm like, honey, I'm going to sit this one out. I can't afford, like, $400 for just a couple of hours. How about you come over and I'll make you your favorite Persian dish for your birthday, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, but you could speak to her.
Yeah,
the
you were honest.
Honesty,
yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So, like, that's what go friendship deeper is. In debt because you know you better understand.
Yeah.
And how many of these conversations do you think is happening among couples? Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We put our partners through heck because we fail to show up as our authentic self.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I know Brene Brown, she does some great work, and I think my version of showing up brave is when you can capture your true authenticity, but also extend that for someone else to feel safe enough, and you hold space for people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You're not supposed to be always successful, always happy, you know, your bank account full of money. Like, if I truly sign up to be in a positive or healthy relationship with you, I'm also signing up to hold you in those spaces, not just for the good time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
so that builds in a relationship that extends our threshold for happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like,
I don't know why you're so lost. You already know everything.
No, I think, you know, we've built this relationship, like we girls have really, you know, I don't think we had this in mind. It just so happened. And we are lucky and we are blessed that we have this. And of course we have our differences, but then we talk it out.
Yeah,
we don't keep it.
We voice
and we
it out.
understand we might have, you know, like we might go back and forth, but we don't keep it within our hearts. We know at the end of the day, we love and trust each other. Yeah. So it's like, okay, this is the way you think. This is the way I think. And we talk about it. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's done. So, and then we kind of move on and have a cup of chai.
And the chai fixes everything.
Yeah, everything.
Chai fixes everything.
In the relationship, I think literature, that very thing you just described. So I think growing up in especially some of our cultures and being female, we are socialized to run away from anything kind of confrontational.
Yes.
Right? So what happens is that causes that buildup. We stay quiet. We have a lot of opinions.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm guilty of it too. But we are told, you know, just look pretty, don't
smile and nod.
Don't say anything. Your mother-in-law is visiting. Don't do that. It's your kid's birthday. And so a lot of what I have to do is go in and help people unlearn what they learned. Yes. And then I say, hey, let's go create some creative chaos.
Yeah.
Let's go in there, not to the point where you're a volcanic eruption, and the guy's like, "Oh my God, I'm not doing anything." But instead, proactively, make the relationship environment such that it could handle different ideas, right?
Right.
That we're gonna navigate this relationship with such good intentions. Prioritize love, influence, and acceptance.
Yes.
Tolerance, right? But there's going to be a day you and I are going to think very differently.
Yes.
And it won't break us.
Yes.
Right?
You agree to disagree, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think that's where the good listening skills come in.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right? Am I going to listen to the point of I want you to influence my point of view.
Yeah.
Versus, by the time we're done, I better be right. I want my trophy. I want my point of view to win.
Yes, true.
And I tell my couples, I'm like, if you win and your partner loses, the relationship loses.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. What can you lose or give up so that your relationship wins? And then everyone wins.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And many times, I mean, we don't even realize it, right? It's not done on purpose.
Yeah.
It just happens, circumstances, or, we don't realize what we're doing. But I think when we're having conversations like this, it sparks something for our listeners, for us, and incidents that's happened to us. So we share it. And many times our listeners will say, yeah, that happened to me too. And then, it's like, yeah, we can improve on this relationship. We can probably work, like make progress.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about it that way. So it's, it's something like that. And talking about it, when you talk meaningful conversations and you have those, then that makes makes a difference.
Yeah, you're not waiting for a big fight.
Yeah,
you
did this to me.
Yeah, but I think also, right, your parents, nobody gave you a book on marriage or relationships. You actually have seen your parents.
Yes.
So I feel like you learned from there. Now you're trying to, like you said, unlearn stuff. And when we have these conversations or we're reading books, now we're trying to influence our lives with the better things that we have learned. Right? And then pass it on to our children. So we're in this, we come from a different culture in another country, and now we're trying to change things, right? And not follow our parents' patterns or that culture's pattern, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think that throughout this process, as we're navigating change, self-compassion will be a very big player, because sometimes we feel like maybe we did something wrong and we have to change something, and we don't look at it from a growth mindset.
Yeah. Right? Okay, let's go on a short break. The time goes by way too fast with Mahtab. I need to get some more airtime from Radio Demand. Let's go on a break. This is Chai Time on 99.5 FM. Back to Chai Time on 99.5 FM. We are in conversation with Mahtab Moradi, and we've been talking about healthy and unhealthy relationships. So let's continue with that. We've been really having great conversation, and so many things are rolling back for us too, like just kind of coming back. And actually, I wanted to also share that last night I'm watching this show called Bollywood Wives, and there was this episode where their 4 friends, they go on this trip. And, somehow you're close to one friend, right? It happens to us too. We are closer to one particular friend, but we are close, but just closer. And, but there was an incident that happened 15 years ago. But every time they meet, what happens is they take these cheap shots at each other because of that incident that happened 15 years. So finally it comes out and saying, let's put it out on the table. Yeah. And just between you and me. We don't want the other two, and let's just talk. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's the way you have to get it out. Like 15 years, and it's still in there.
Holding on, like it just happened.
Right? Because there's no resolve, right?
Yeah.
And that brings out our, we call this like reactive response.
Okay.
Reactive response means you come at someone you don't have resolve with, and your communication may be passive aggressive, or you may have a difficult time giving an authentic compliment when one is deserved, right? Or it may look like avoidance. You make sure you don't go to that party that she's at, because you don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of the avoidance pattern.
Right.
Again, that direct communication, being able to be authentic, but then feel safe with the person handling your authenticity. We a few years back, I'm going to mention Brene again, the whole vulnerability campaign was huge. Well, I don't want to be vulnerable with somebody with a big mouth who's going to go tell my business to the rest of the world, right?
Absolutely.
So how can you do anything when you don't feel safe in a relationship, right? And I think that's when we start getting into our own heads and disconnecting, where we may one day have felt very safe and very in tune with our partner or coworker or a girlfriend or a sister, and some events happened and we didn't address the patterns, and it just became bigger and bigger, way bigger than it needed to, and we don't do anything about it. So there's lack of agency, right?
Yeah.
We are no longer an agent of making these changes, but we're falling victim. And oftentimes, especially with women, that falling victim turns into gossip, which is the most toxic thing, right? The cancer of relationships. The Cancer Month in our world, negativity can really break down the human spirit and our ability to make and form really authentic connection. The other thing I want to, a lot of couples that I've worked with, obviously connection has been the big topic. But I see connection and disconnection happen not just in the bedroom. I move and navigate through work environments where I meet with the leadership team. They think they have one version of the company, and I kind of like to pick spot check. I'm like, give me someone who you just hired, give me someone who's been here a year, and one at 3 years. And I just randomly have a conversation like this with them. And then I make my own assessment of where I think the work culture is suffering, or what needs fixing or intervention. I see that with people too. In a marriage, for example, we're going to talk about intimacy, right? If your husband comes to you and he's seeking some kind of a new way of exploring intimacy, and you laugh at it. Guess what? Is he going to mention that again?
No.
Right? You just shot the guy down. It's just like, if your little boy says, "Mommy, look at me, I can throw a baseball," and he messes up, and you ridicule, we do better, I think, as parents. But we're not handling, I think, our partner's emotions as delicately, and that's so sad. That's your person, right? That's the person you should show up for the most. Gottman calls these little instances where we notice opportunities to connect with each other, and he says these instances are happening on a daily basis all over the place. And he calls this theme like bids for connection, so bidding for each other's connection. Instead of waiting to plan this extravagant 20-year anniversary trip, to Paris, you should be paying attention for the fact that he makes your coffee first in the mornings, right? Or the little stuff, like maybe you were nervous about something and your partner did something very small, but you know what that act of kindness means in your relationship environment. Make sure he knows that. Make sure you seize the opportunity, because it adds up and it creates very, very authentic connection. Instead of trying to live for other people and mask connection and write a 15-page, essay on why your love is real, as if the poor guy next door it isn't. He may just not know how to write that one. But really being intentional about creating authenticity inside your four walls, right? And being kind. How would you treat your best friend?
That's so true.
Fairness and kindness. These things disarm our defense mechanisms for moving away from people we love. When we feel safe and we feel loved, and when we put ourselves and we take risks of vulnerability and showing up brave, and when folks handle that well, we are more likely to do more of it. And doing more of that builds intimacy. right?
Yeah.
That translates to, so it's kind of funny. The part of our brain that handles the let go response, like when you're breastfeeding and they say to the moms, just relax, relax.
Yeah.
And the milk will come.
Flow.
Yeah.
That same let go response regulates our sexual health.
Okay.
So imagine all the anxiety, all the defense mechanisms that so many of us are carrying around with us.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, now go have some great intimacy. Well, it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Like, you cannot be that worked up, that anxious, that defensive, and expect even your physiological responses to be healthy.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that we started on connection, and but it's all connected.
That's a way to make connection.
Yeah. It's up to you to
connect. But if, say, for instance, in a relationship, right? Or, I don't know, maybe even in friendship, if you have this disconnection, you've been so close to someone, and you all of a sudden, things happen, and you get disconnected. So what are ways that we can, get back and connect with that person again? Because it was a beautiful relationship. And for many, many reasons, it could have, drifted apart, or there's been a lot of differences. So is there a way to work back into, creating a connection again?
Yeah, I think it goes back to some of the themes we've covered.
Okay.
We need to let go of events.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe talk about patterns.
Right.
We need to forgive.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sometimes we need to grieve. Sometimes we need to grieve maybe, you met in college, and at that point in your life, what you shared with that friend was everything. It was center stage, and you graduated from that part of your life.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that person is bad.
Yeah.
It's just you grew. And I don't believe in just cutting people off. I think we should all be growing. But you don't need to necessarily make that person a horrible monster to walk away, but just learn how to maintain bridges, right?
Okay.
And maybe find something new that you can share and be passionate about, and include that person. So this kind of invitation and being involved, if I'm going to keep going back to couples dynamics.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get a very shy partner, for example, and they're paired up with this very outgoing, party.
Yeah.
And then they look at me, but what do I do? It's like I have to take an anti-anxiety medication to go out with this guy. I'm like, well, maybe you can mutually agree to be influenced by the other.
Yeah.
Right? Don't get so caught up in these labels. Oh, well, because you're shy, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself at this big fundraising event, so you stay home. No. Always be inclusive, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that should help most relationships move towards the right direction. Just respecting things as they are. You can't ask for people to step out of their comfort zone. Like, I love, that's a new thing too. Step out of your comfort zone. Like, well, I am not jumping out of this plane right now. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
But first you have to give rope to be able to nudge, right?
Right.
Or sometimes if it's not an option, you drop the rope. You show the other person there's no resistance on my end. This is an invitation. This is my olive branch. Come meet me in the middle. But whatever you're doing, you want to, if you are upset about something your partner's doing, your coworker, your female friend, sister, brother, try to step up and act like the partner you would want to be and model that behavior. And in that action, you normalize it. If you feel like there's fairness is lacking in your household, make that a hot topic.
Yeah.
And then implement it. And be a model citizen for it. And I promise you'll start seeing that conversation take place.
Yeah. I guess like it's communication, basically.
Everything,
you have to communicate in any way or form, right? Like even within our families, and especially with all these devices now, the kids are so, like the head is down and they're just like, and we are like just talking, like, is it going in there? Or is it just
what I loved about earlier when you were talking about your son?
Yeah.
And that's not very common practice, for someone with our background to face a life transition and truly, when she said, my son was 17.
Yeah.
I had watched him become his own man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is, sometimes the moms want to just pull the kid back because of their own ego.
Yeah.
But you didn't do that.
Right.
You released the rope. You let him flourish. You did tremendous investment in the relationship for the two of you because you knew when to let go of that rope and celebrate the fact that he's transitioning into a young man.
Yes.
Instead of nudging on him or making it about you.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So you operated from, your soul, your heart, instead of your ego.
Yeah.
Right?
So true.
Because ego's like, I had some ego the other day. I love my daughter so much, and she's awesome, but I'm like, you don't have to go away for college because I want more of you here.
Yeah, and a lot of parents, especially in our culture, do that.
True.
Yeah.
And then I caught myself. I'm like, that is not what you should have said. And then she goes, Mom, how about I come to an event with you? And we settled.
Was it after you caught yourself or before?
Yeah, apologies. One of the things I tell my kids all the time, the brave one apologizes first.
Yeah.
And that's something in my ever-changing household. I've always been very big on that just because I'm the adult or I studied a bunch of books does not make me right.
Yeah.
And I need to catch myself when I'm in the wrong and do it right.
Yeah. I know, I think our generation, we are, we first copy our parents.
Yes.
So we do things what our parents have been doing. Yes. But now we see our children, the change. So we are trying to change and trying to adapt to that change as well. Yes. So I think this generation that we are in, it's more like, it's good that we are learning from both ends, right?
We're bridges.
Very,
that's true. Yeah. So we are trying to also change in many, many ways our, our behavior, our thoughts, and trying to grow with our children, understand our children more. Or even our spouse more, right?
Yeah.
In a meaningful way. I mean, there's something so beautiful about the Eastern cultures. And then there's some amazing aspects of the Western culture. And this merger, it could be magnificent. I don't know why I thought about this, but one time I was driving and my daughter was in the car and I had a really bad, tire blowout. And, she went to this transition. I'm like, what's this thing about Persian families? Everybody's always coming over for tea. It's any time, any day. And I said, look at the big picture. We come from these collectivist cultures, and this family is not just like us, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then that day, my tire blew out, and I just sat. I moved over, and I just sat, and I called my brother, and my daughter's like, Mom, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to sit here until your uncle comes and takes care of me. Because there's many things where I've been the sister, I've stepped up, and this one is on his time. And sure enough, literally, my brother came, he brought me his working car, and he put us into his car, and I didn't see my car until the next day, all done and working.
Yeah.
And so she got to appreciate, she's like, see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The family, family bond,
to show up for people you love.
Yeah, exactly. So. It's even as, like for a flat tire.
Yes. But that was a product of our relationship in the making, as siblings.
Yeah.
Right. And I think kids don't realize that, right? For them it's just like, why do we have to do all of these gatherings? Why do we have to always have your friends over and things like that? But when the hard times come or anything, if we need, who to call, and you're so right away you picked up the phone and you called your brother. You didn't have to think, oh my God, what if he's busy, or there's no hesitation from your end. Yeah. Because of that bond you have, you've created that, your family has created that. So
I want to take the word create into this concept of, we often feel that in a relationship, there's two people. I think the two people in a relationship, the commitment word means that you mutually accept the responsibility of creating the right relationship environment, which you are both mutually invested in, such as a business partnership. Right?
Yeah.
If we want to implement a culture of fairness, accountability, being on time, valuing employees, as the CEO, you would not roll in at 1 p.m.
Right.
Right, and tell everybody what a great time you had on your yacht. Okay. Right?
You're right.
Yeah.
So treating the relationship as an environment, and you can always create a better environment, and that will help everyone feel more agency. Rather than falling victim.
Yeah, that's why at Arling's, like at the restaurant, when I tell the staff that y'all are my family, they really know I mean it from the bottom of my heart, because there's been so many times, like during COVID, for instance, when so many of my staff who are single moms were not able, what would they do with their kids? Their kids go to daycare. Daycare was closed. But Irfan and I decided, get them to the restaurant, get them in, we'll provide, we have Wi-Fi, so they can just come there with their iPad or whatever. They can sit at the restaurant, there's a room, and they can do their stuff while the mom is working, and she has no worry that I cannot leave my child alone. So that is because that's what we would do for our family, and they are there with us for so long during the day. They are spending more time with us than they're actually spending with their family.
Yeah.
So that is what, I tell them. There was even, she's not working with us anymore, but, husband used to abuse her. And, I came to know about it, and I told her that, if you need help, there's a helpline I can help you with. You don't have to go through this. And trying to reach out to her and tell her, but at the end of the day, it was her decision, whether she wanted to stay or not. Because for them, it's hard. I know it's not easy for them to just walk away from a relationship. But at least, showing compassion and empathy to them, and not just, oh, you're working for me and here's your paycheck and you're done and over with. So showing that, talking to them, it could feel that she felt a little better, but she knew that she wasn't strong enough at that point to take that step. But at least she knows there is help over here. There are resources here, which maybe she didn't even know, because she's been going through so much for years of abuse, right? So at least now she knows she's not alone, and, telling her that you're not alone. If you want to talk and you need help, just come and we'll help you. So
that's, I love hearing that. That's promoting that culture of kindness.
Yes.
We often even when we leave a relationship, we remember how that person made us feel more than anything. Right?
Yes.
And that gets imprinted.
Yeah. That act of kindness never gets forgotten.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. So, even like you're saying, whether it be workplace
I want to go work
or...
Get to eat good food. Talk about my
But it's really nice. Like when I see the staff, they come in. They don't come in with a face like, oh, this is my job, and like it's genuinely they are happy, and they are so comfortable with us that they can joke with us. They can just like even like do pranks with us. Like they've done so many pranks with me.
Oh, that's fun.
They've taken away my food.
Oh, okay, that's not
my
funny.
No, they hide my to-go food. And I'm like, okay, I guess I got to reorder again. And it was like, oh, Miss Lynn, it was just a joke. April Fool.
It's not even April.
So yeah, I mean, it's just a good environment in that way, and that's why we always say, I've seen so many of our staff that come on as high school kids, and then they're in college, and many of them have like moved on in their own career paths, and it's so nice to see that they have been with us for so long, and they have now built like there's this one guy who started off in as a high school kid, went to college. He's now a engineer. He's married. Yeah, so it's so nice, and we still keep in touch. So when we have any computer issues,
that's great.
Can't figure out how to operate Excel. He's a big shot engineer now, but he comes.
Yeah. Sometimes when I had in our line of work, you often find yourself when people are in a really bad spot. So sometimes I have a very hard time collecting money, but I will write myself a note and I'll say, don't worry, the universe works its funny ways.
Yes.
And I remember I had this one guy, this was in Baytown, and he could repair gates, right? And I just put his name and I put Gates underneath the little, iPhone thing. And then, I don't know, like maybe 2 years passed, and one of my brother's rental homes, the gate broke. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go with my phone and type in Gates. And his name popped up, and I'm like, do you remember me? He's like, yes, you were the nice lady who met me at Starbucks, didn't charge me, and this and that. And I said, I need your help about a gate. And I don't know why. Done.
Yeah.
There you
By
go.
4 o'clock that day, it was done. And I said, see, I told you you'd eventually pay me.
It's the connection.
That's like the engineer that, was serving food one day, but now he's
now he's like, he's, like doing so well for himself, so happy. Like, he's married, and it's so good to see them like doing well in life. And there's so many times when, he would break up with his girlfriend and make up and break up, and he would just have this sad face. I was like, what's wrong? It's okay. And
let's eat our
so
feelings.
It's like a therapy session.
Yes. Is there an office that I can...
No, but the work environment, I believe, has to be like that.
Yeah.
Not just your home environment, but overall, right? Like your work environment, you can't just be like, oh, I'm the boss and I'm writing the checks, and there's no connection with your employees.
That connection is everything.
Yeah. So, and I guess we're, working for someone else for so many years, also you learn something. Like I've learned a lot through my bosses and through my coworkers, and it's not been easy. I've had some of my tough times too with coworkers, with peers, and so it's just like now when you're a boss, you kind of like know how it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So you've been in their shoes.
I love that.
She's nodding. She's like, cut it off. You're done now.
I'm not the one talking too much. Today it's on her.
I feel like I'm in therapy. No, I'm just
She
kidding.
feels safe to
It's
talk.
been
Okay, and you gotta end this thing.
No, it's been good. It's been good. We've had a productive conversation, I would say. Yeah, definitely.
This is fantastic. I love this space. Thank you. Thank you
No,
so
I'm
much.
so glad you came, and of course, we always love having you back for sure. It's there's so much to like talk about. There's different topics, and I like it that we make our conversations light but meaningful as well. Like people do get it. It's not just it's just like it's boring, but it's our own life experiences. And that, I guess, makes a difference. So thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
And listeners, I mean, if you missed the first show with Mahtab, the first time she came on Chai Time, it is on our Apple podcast. So go on Chai Time podcast and listen to that conversation. That is a fun conversation too. You will really enjoy it. Thank you. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in this morning. We shall see you next week, same time, same place. Signing off, this is Chai Time on 99.5 FM.